Hello. Looks like everything's on here. I am live with Turn Leaf Movement. I'm Melissa. I hope you can hear me, see me. Looks like everything's up and running here, so that's good. Welcome to Tough Talks. So we are number 23 here with Tough Talks. And I've recently, as of last week, moved over from Facebook because I was originally doing my lives there on Thursday, and I got a little bit of an intuitive guidance here to move it to YouTube. All right. Get momentum going over on this platform as well. So if you want to catch the first 21 and much more is on there as well. I have a lot of content on Facebook, not as much on YouTube, actually, not even half as much. Go and check it out. Go and start catching up. It's been a wild ride this year. and I share authentically. What the Tough Talks are here is unscripted, authentic conversation about how to get through the tough shit, how to get through what you're feeling, the relationship challenges, the mental challenges, the physical challenges, life in general here. We're literally it's it's a movement literally in consciousness, and that doesn't feel very comfortable. So I come on every Thursday at noon, Eastern Standard Time. I do live in Ontario, Canada here, and I come on um, and just say how I'm feeling, what I think has been coming up, what I believe has been coming up. Sorry, I'm not, my chair keeps on turning. Look at this, it's driving me nuts. Look, it's just turning. It's never done that before. That's annoying. It's going to drive me nuts. Anyways, what is going on? My floor has shifted here. And so, yeah, I come on live without much to talk about. Something may come in for me. I am an international counselor. Um, my skill, and then I am an intuitive as well. So I do get pretty strong intuitive downloads from my higher self. So I'm able to work pretty pretty empathetically with the collective, and really tap into, get a gauge on what we're going through here. And and thankfully, I mean, I know the internet and these platforms sometimes have a bad rap, but I'm thankful for them, because we can we can discuss this together, and we could share together and not feel so alone in times of confusion, times of challenge, times of movement. Like I said, this is literally a movement here, a movement in consciousness, a movement we're shifting from ways and identities that we once operated from to something a little bit different, these days, with especially within the last year or so. It's really, really, really heavy. Everybody's kind of doing it in one way or the other. Everybody's going to be doing it different, though, based on what they've been through, based on their core beliefs, based on their values, based on what's interesting to them. And so that's going to create some ruffled feathers here. That's going to create, some uncertainties. Within the last, let's say 10 years, you were able to maintain your job? Were you extremely happy in it? No, but you know what? It paid the bill. I have a pet pill bills. I have a pension. I've got kids to support and a mortgage to pay for. So I'm able to, I was able to be okay in my job. Sure, I had my days or what that looks like for you, or even your partners, your relationships, whether that be with family members, friends, um, marriages. I mean, we're at a point right now that we can't deny it. When we're uncomfortable and we're not aligned with something that we are doing in our life, whether that be physically or emotionally, energetically, because being in these relationships, being in these intimate relationships with our kids, with our parents, with our partners, if we're not in alignment with how we want to be in these relationships, how we want to be spoken to, the things that we want to do, what we're interested in, what we value within these relationships, um, unless you're able and you've got a conscious, your conscious is risen to a point that you can maintain neutrality and hold space for your loved one that is going through their own inner work, their own revelations. Even if they're not acknowledging it, though, you can't deny it. Things are shifting. So their anger, their resentment, their judgment is actually going to start to get louder. All right. And that's unless you are in a place where you really understand and are conscious about what this energetic shift is looking like here, you are going to be affected by that. You are going to feel helpless within these relationships. You're going to want to change your partner's ways. And that, if you're noticing right now, that is really dense right now. That is a struggle. That is suffering. That is a great challenge right now. Um, because when we do our inner work and we're able to really explore the things and how we show up in our relationships and in this world, and once we're able to really look at what our triggers are, how we respond to the way people speak with us, treat us, what do we value in a partnership? One partner may not desire much touch and affection, where the other does love and embrace and physical affection. But you can't change it for the other one. So once you get to do your inner work, you're actually able to give it to yourself, that love, that affection, what you're expecting from others, like your partner or a parent, or what you're expecting from them. You're going to be able to give it to yourself, really heal and nurture this within yourself. Because if you were lacking it from others, you were lacking it, you're able to come up and say, where does this come from? What does this part of me come from? Because I'm really not happy in this relationship. So where does this come from for me? So you're able to sit with that. And I spoke about this in I did a spontaneous live. I think it's on Facebook. I didn't upload it to YouTube yet. But like the 4 pillars on how to really get through a challenge, a shift, a trigger. And that really comes with being able to acknowledge it first, being aware of it first. Because what's happening is you're in these relationships with loved ones, and you've been sitting in these relationships for years with them, years and years and years. Relationships is a big one right now. And I'm feeling this pretty heavy this week is is really being confused where you sit in your relationship that you may have been in 20 years, for 30 years, or a family member that you've literally spent your whole life with. You're just feeling different around them, and that can feel confusing, and that can feel quite lonely. You're like, what is going on here? It's because you are evolving. Okay. You are evolving, and the collective, the people around you, even though it's not happening within your household, if you are sensitive, which we all have the ability to tap into our intuition and to tap into the energies, like when you walk into a room and you're kind of feeling the vibe of the room. Well, right now, the vibe of the collective, not only in your town or your city or your country, the world right now is really looking to tap into a more peaceful way of being, peace, relief, health, less oppression, less illusion, stop going, not so much looking for guidance outside of ourselves. So you're feeling that intuitive um, nudge, that notification from the collective right now. Whether you're trying to do this or not, you are part of this field of energy. And when people start working on themselves, which is awareness, and it's uncomfortable, but when people start really looking at their life, or if they're looking outside themselves and saying, ooh, that looks different than it did 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, for sure, 10 years ago. But even within the last few years, and you're looking, um, you know, at, at, at everything that's going on in the world right now, and you're kind of questioning and looking and saying, that doesn't feel quite right, or that doesn't sound right, or I might, just, if you're doing research, gathering information, so much intel these days, please use discernment. There's so much intel. That's why I say tap into yourself, because there's so much information, so many different opinions, including in your own home. Your partner may have a complete different opinion, especially within the last couple of years. That has shifted. Your family, friends, your friend group, that's all that may, chances are, it's shifting, whether it's minimal or like some relationships have completely concluded or shifted or have taken breaks, or just really kind of having a different conversation based on the information, what we've been through here in the last, even let's say 4 or 5 years. Um, that's that's not just in your home. That's in the conversations around. So we're feeling that energy intuitively. You don't have to sit in a meeting, or look at some information or intel, which I do focus, watch what you focus on, because you create more of it. So if you're looking at fear, if you're looking at this narrative of what is coming next and how to prepare, really look at what that's doing to your mindset and your mood. So I'm going to caution you around that as well, until you really start clearing up the shit, um, and the parts of you that are limited. It's going to be difficult to sit in a fear narrative and be comfortable with that and just be aware of it. It's taken me some time, a few years, because it takes some time to really clear out and declutter these stale parts of us that have been operating. All right. So if you're noticing that, it's, especially as the fall, October hit, there were what, October 5th of 2023 here. It is interesting to see, even just in my own personal life, or with clients. I have a client base, and they are going through some very unique awarenesses, but not unique because I know I can see what's going on. But the people around them are saying, like, what are you talking about? Or they're confused. They're not aligned. It's like, who is this person? All right. And that creates worry, that creates stress. Am I in the right job? Am I in the right relationship? Am I in that alone? If you really can tap into yourself and you take only 15 minutes a day, I have a 21 day, I think it's a life code challenge. You can actually download it for free on my website. And I left the link here. I think it's only 12 minutes a day and 21 days consistently, 12 minutes a day. If the content is free for you, you are going to notice that you're going to be able to sit in these moments of discomfort, um, moments of awareness, and you kind of tapping in saying, am I doing the right thing? Am I being this? Am I, that alone, that monkey mind, that shitty committee comes on and it starts to fuck with your head a little bit. That's when you know, between the ego and the higher self, the ego is going to come in and going to create some doubt. It's going to want to have an argumentative conversation within. Ego is going to say, you're not quite doing it right. And you're not quite doing it in this way. You're not understanding. There's a lot of shame and judgment that comes with the ego. All right. Higher self is going to tell you to come in and tell you to sit with this for a second. Let's sit with it and let's really look at where you're being triggered in this job, where you're being triggered in this relationship. I want you to really sit with it first and bring that part of you up that is in worry and see if it comes from a place of lack. See if it comes from a place of low self-esteem. See if it comes from a place of inner child. What happened growing up? What did your relationships look like? Could you do anything right? Was that the feedback that you got? So you just can't do anything right. Really look, and you'll get the answers. You will get some answers. And if you need help facilitating that, I can help with that. Being able to do a private session with you, which you can book on my website as well. That is new on my website too, is being able to book directly on there. You can book on Facebook as well, but I think I might change some things up there. Don't want conflicting calendars, but this takes a minute. This way of thinking, because we're so quick to just wanting to change and to help and to fix. We just want to fix our husbands. We want to quiet down their head chatter. We want to fix our kids if they're being bullied or if they're experiencing a challenge, and we want to fix it. Or we're shaming them and judging them, saying, hey, this is not a big deal. We're minimizing it because it gives us a sense of I'm so loud up here. My mental mind, my head chatter and monkey mind is so loud up here that if anybody around me is also having some challenging times and really confused about what is going on in their own life, there could be two things that happens. It's you're automatically want to go in and you're going to want to protect and you're going to want to fix it for them. How can I take literally everything off me emotionally and physically to help you? Or there's avoidance there. There's judgment there. So see where you fall within these two responses, and it's awareness, because I think it's more common to do either or. So really helicopter, really looking at where you can fix it for them, or that avoidance or shutting it down because it's uncomfortable. You don't want to, we don't talk about that in this household. We don't mention this uncomfortable conversation, especially if you know that you have two different beliefs or opinions about a certain topic, is because it's uncomfortable. We automatically go to a place of many of us is avoidance or anger, resentment, judgment. Judgment's a big one. Judgment is a big one. And projection. So you're projecting because you can't fix it for them. So you're trying to help them. They're not they don't wanna hear it. They don't care for your opinion. They sense your anxiety and your stress and and your feelings of not of helplessness. You can't help. That alone will put you in a vacuum within your household, within your job, because it can be at work as well, um, of really sitting in this ping pong effect. You're literally mirroring this ping pong of frustration, of not being well, that feeling in your chest that you get that's tight. You're taking short breaths. When you are worried and anxious, if you actually pay attention to your breathing, it'll be shallow and it'll be short. And so we're not getting enough oxygen to our body, which may cause some headaches. It may cause some dizziness. Like you may get lightheaded. You may feel like you want to fall down sometimes and your head just hurts. And if you really look at what you're resisting in your life, look out, check, sit with yourself and I'm probably speaking many language meant to many people here because this is a very common theme and it's at the point I know some of my clients, participants that I work with, or just the word on the street, really, because we talk. Us helpers here, we talk. Is really just seeing some transition after the awareness part. So the individual, you come to the point where you are aware of how you are showing up in the relationship. You care for yourself. Okay. That care part, that second pillar, that comes with some action as well. Okay. That comes with some action. And we go into contemplation about contrasts and scenarios. So if a lot of people leave marriages prematurely and end relationships prematurely because it's just too uncomfortable, I don't want to deal with the drama. And what happens is if you don't really sit and recognize what your part was, because you are in alignment, you are a mirror of what you attract. Okay. And when you have conflict and contrast in your life, and you bypass what you have done and said and how you showed up in this relationship or circumstance, when you bypass that, what happens is you actually bring it in to the next relationship, the next circumstance, the next town if you're moving. All right. So that's why I'm here. Part of Tough Talks and Turn Leaf movement is to really create a movement to empower you to heal yourself. Okay, of course, with help here, with you're not alone. We're here for you and with you. But being able to get to a point where you stop trying to get them, the people outside of you, to stop what they're doing so you can feel better. That's that's what I'm this is my whole purpose is to help the collective raise in consciousness here, and being aware of what they are doing in their day, how they're showing up in their life, and watching the judgment for that. There's no judgment. We've got some work to do here. We have some work to do. So when we look at these awarenesses and we put them on the table and we are just aware of them, if you go back to the video that I did about the four pillars, it's not doing anything in that awareness phase. It's literally just being aware of it, not trying to fix it, not trying to change it, being aware of it and sitting with it, because we have bypassed it our whole lives. We avoided, we discontinued relationships when they were premature prematurely. It was a premature conclusion. It's inevitable that relationships are going to evolve. Relationships are going to come and go. Relationships are so different. There's so, I mean, there's so many different people in your life here that play a role in your life. And that could be a split moment, whether that be a really good experience or some trauma. That could be for a period of time. So a friendship in high school, and then it shifts because we shift. It could be a partnership, okay, an intimate partnership. And what we've done in the past, though, is we have majority of the time is we conclude our relationships in anger. We conclude our relationships because the conversation is getting uncomfortable. And what happens is when we start having conversations with each other to say, this is how I'm feeling within them. This is how I'm feeling when you say and do this. And I'm being triggered when this happens between us. And I would really like and desire to maybe shift over here so we can show a little bit more compassion towards one another. Being able to say, hey, I want to have more effective communication with you. I know I haven't been showing up in that area during our relationship, and I haven't been very assertive. Chances are you've actually been in the background saying, when are they going to say something? This is very uncomfortable. You're constantly walking on eggshells. The energy of the house isn't. But what is your responsibility in that relationship? If you want better communication, then you need to start speaking more effectively. Okay. If you want better boundaries, work on what your boundaries look like, how you are teaching people how to treat you, where they begin and you end, and where you begin and they end. And really, being able to practice that. So, what you're expecting from everybody else around you, it's feeling quite, and if it's not shifting, if anything, it's getting louder and more uncomfortable. Um, Start having these conversations in the care phase. So there was the awareness, and then when you start the second pillar here, this care phase, being able to really nurture what your desires are and nurture what you value and what's important to you. That comes with some action. Okay. You're caring, it's an action phase. What you are doing to put your mind in a peaceful place, even for 12 minutes a day. What you're saying to yourself. What language are you using? If you desire better communication with your partner, then that needs to be expressed, what your needs are. And if they're coming in saying, well, I can't talk to you, you're angry, or you're always complaining, it's hard, it's difficult, but they're going through their shit as well. They've been in this vortex with you. Okay? They've been in the vortex with you. So when you can get to a place and say, absolutely, you're right. I have been complaining a lot, without saying this is the reason why, because now we're blaming and shaming. I know it's tough, but there's some acknowledgement of how you're showing up in the relationship, any relationship, work, intimate, kids, I don't give a shit. It's where, you know what, I want your feedback on this, and even asking your significant other, if you can let me know what your observations are about our communication. That might actually stun them a little bit, because you're asking their opinion. Careful with ask if you can't handle it, right? But this is hard work. This is uncomfortable. So if you can actually tap in and say, and with your kids, this is a big one as well, because if you are like the helicopter parent and you're just like, this is going to be a tough one for you because you feel unsafe if you're not involved. You feel that they're going to be unsafe if you're not involved. But even with your kids, allow them to be part of the conversation and say, hey, I'm just working on some awareness here. I'm working on myself. I haven't been feeling well lately. Mom's been worried, or you're talking to your husband or wife. I've been really worried. I'm not feeling well. I'm not happy right now. And I'm just really looking at my awarenesses. And I'd like to have a conversation about it. That's in that care part. That's that care phase. And this is what came up for me in my awareness, and that I would like to have more effective communication without raising voices. The tone is different. I'm a loud talker anyways, so it's the vibe behind the level. So just because I'm speaking loudly, it doesn't mean I'm happier than a pig in shit. It's the vibe. So if there's judgment and projection and anger and resentment is a big one, because we've been through some shit within our marriages and within these partnerships. We've been through some shit. So that resentment piece. Am I resenting my husband for what he did to me and us 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago? And you don't talk about it. You don't want to talk about it. And that's why it's really loud right now. So being able to sit into these conversations and say, this is going to be uncomfortable for me. But I want to work on this, and giving concrete examples of where you have your awareness on how you've been showing up in the relationship. Ask them what their opinion is. Ask them for some feedback. Ask them for kindness, of course, and listen. It doesn't mean you have to take it on, because chances are when they really get, unless you're in a vibe, if they really feel your vibe, that you're being authentic and you are in a place of neutrality and saying, listen, like, I'm not happy here. And I really would like to work on getting happy, and being able to trust you with how I'm feeling, because I can't do that right now. And I can see, as we continue, the weeks, months, and years go on, I can see myself and you as well. You can probably look at them. Maybe their alcohol it has increased, and they're at the point where they're like angry and numb, or they're withdrawn, signs of depression, low motivation, not wanting to get out, not wanting to be around people. Um, really just withdrawing. So being able to really sit into these conversations and being authentic. That's why I called it this tough talks, because I make you have the tough talks. Well, I don't make you, but it's just my opinion on this. And I know it's effective because I've been practicing it for years and years. And that's part of my practice that I do with individuals as well. But being able to seek that feedback, or even if it's a friend, like you've had a long time friend, and you're just noticing that you're just not, you're not getting along as you once did. Hey, sit down and say, hey, do you mind? Turn your phone off, turn the television off. I don't care if you want some nice music, maybe have a dinner. Hey, I'd like to have a dinner tonight. I'd like to sit down and I'd like to just have a chit chat about a couple things, not going into the conversation heated. Because once you go into the conversation heated and you have a conversation about wanting to shift some things and implement change in the relationship when you're pissed off, where do you think that's going to go? So being able to set a date where the kids are in bed and it's quiet, and you're able to really sit in a space, because they're going to take it serious. And if they don't, and if they, come out of this conclusion and say, I'm really just not interested in talking about this any further, or I'm not interested in how you want to approach this, I'm not interested in looking at my shit. I'm not interested in holding space for you. Now you've gotten some information. Now you've got some information, and that might be really hard to hear, okay? Or as time goes on and you may actually get a response the first couple times you chit chat, especially the first time, to say, "Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I can work on a few things here. Yeah, I wanna be able to have better communication with you, being able to trust you more. Because yeah, you're right. I don't really trust you because I feel like you're judging me. I feel like when I come home and if I'm, if I want some quiet time or if I'm doing a project in the backyard of the shed or and I feel like I'm being punished for that because you give me the silent treat. Now you're talking. Now you're talking. All right. But we need to start speaking to each other is a really big download that like I said, this week, being able to chit chat with each other and seeing how you can get to a place of meeting where your values are, your desires are. And if you're chit chatting with your kids and your kids are like, oh my God, mom or dad, like, you want my opinion on how I think your response is to my life? Okay, allow them to be part of the conversation. You're going to just bite your tongue and you're going to say, Melissa told me I was going to be really uncomfortable with this. But you're not happy within the relationships right now. There's a lot of banter. There's a lot of disagreements. There's a lot of separation. There's a lot of technology in the face, and there's that total void of spending some authentic time with your family and friends, because it's uncomfortable. So that's what I'm sensing right now. The feeling of just relationships is a big one. Any relationship, that is such a big one right now, because as you evolve and as you start loving yourself, because really this is a perfect example of how you are putting yourself. Oh, there's a beautiful, I've got a window in front of me. There was two beautiful blue jays, which is a great sign from my higher perspective here. Anyways, two big, beautiful blue jays just flew by the window. Anyways, so you're going to notice, as you start this work, and really, and if you've been following me for some time, you've probably been implementing some of this sit with self and really listen to what is coming up for you when you are triggered or uncomfortable. Um, because once you start doing this and you have a partner, a child, a friend that's over here and in the vibration of still being, in where you were a year ago, 2 years ago, that's why it's no, I'm better than you and you're lower than me. That's not what this is. That's the opposite of it, actually. This is evolution. This is evolving, and sometimes, a lot of times, you're just doing it differently than the people in your life. Okay, and that, when you get to a place of, okay, I have cared for what my needs are with within myself and with the people around me, and time has gone on now, months, maybe years have gone on. Let's say months, let's keep it, because this vibration is quite like local. I find it's localized. Okay, so you've had the conversations, you've expressed, and in these uncomfortable conversations, you've expressed yourself. You've been patient, which is the third pillar. You've been patient, as because what happens is when you are aware and you want people to be in flow with you, you desire that tribe. As we are a species of wanting to be together, wanting to learn and nurture each other, which is beautiful. Okay, But as time goes on, and this is where this patience comes in, is being able to really intuitively tap in to being grateful for how they're showing up in the relationship. Now, maybe you're seeing a few things that they've changed according to what you both desire. Ask them too. Part of this is these conversations. Ask them, what do you desire in the relationship? Not only are you going to get the feedback of how they've been observing you, ask them what's important to you. And this is for your kids. This is a big one for the kids. Big one for everybody. Everybody wants to feel like they're heard in their relationships. So being able to say, "Hey, I told you what I desire here. What do you think?" Chances are it might be the opposite. There may be a gray area, or they may be like, "I would like this." And being okay with that. And even if they have to step away from the conversation for a day or two, because they're like, wow, like this is a very different way of approaching this. And I have no clue what I even care, what I desire, what's important to me. I don't know. Like shit. We've just been numb the last few years. We've been roommates the last what's important to me. I gotta get back, be all right. Be patient with that. And then when they come back and schedule that, like, hey, if we can, maybe Friday night, we can make another dinner here and we can discuss what's important to us. Patience is a big one, though. Patience is such a big one with this because you guys are going to go in and out. It's like a little mini roller coaster. Okay, just a little bit of marriage advice here. This is it's marriage therapy. Like you're in it together. So being able to show up what is coming up for you, not expecting them to be or do anything though that is out of their alignment so you can be happy. Watch for that. So if they come up with a desire and you're like, "Oh God, I'm not interested in that." Okay, let them know you're not interested, but give them, I don't want to say permission, but hold space for them if they want to do it. You guys are two different souls, or three or four, depending on how many kids you got. They're different. What's of value to you? And if their desire or interest, this is an important one. If their desire, listen, this is the listening part, the patience part, being able to effectively listen. If they desire or their interest is to change your kids or to change you or another family member, a roommate, I don't care what your household looks like. If their desire manipulates others to behave in a different way, another way, so they can find some peace, you're going to want to provide them that feedback. Like, well, I desire, whatever that would be. I desire you to, um, I'm not sure exactly, I can't think of I desire you to act a certain way or be a certain way during this time. Let's say your child dresses a certain way, and your husband comes and says, "Hey, I this would make me happy if they dress this way or they behaved this way." It's a difference if there's no kindness or if they're not safe, or that's different. But if they're being respectful and they are not harming others, or they just have a unique style, a unique preference themselves, got to be careful with, okay, are you trying to change based on your desire? What I'm hearing is you want this, but does that come from you trying to change them? Are you trying to change them to make you happy? And that's not going to work. That's the manipulating part, so be cautious of that. Fall into that. If this is my desire based on what I want, "Hey, I want an hour a night where I can be in the shed, be in the garage, and just have some, have some not feeling like I'm being punished because I'm not literally being and sitting with you all night because you miss me and I work away." You see, like, that alone, it's like, okay, well, you desire some alone time, not taking offense to that because they're not trying to get you to change. If anything, if you're uncomfortable with them taking a little bit of alone time, let's say a few times a week to do a project or to even just be in there without being without them being punished or there's consequences for that. If you're feeling lonely, if you're feeling rejected, if you're feeling abandoned by your partner, that's your part. Being able to look at that is pretty important. I mean, chances are you can even get to a point where you can just be and sit with them in the garage. Not that there's no silence, there's no judgment, there's no. It's just maybe you bring a book or whatever that looks like for you. Maybe it's in nature and you just kind of pull up a chair beside the garage and just be in each other's energetic, just not trying to talk or this is going to be your agenda, your plan. I can only give someone so many examples. You're going to have to talk to the ones around you. All right. But as you sit in patience, okay, and as time goes on here, and you are really doing a lot of your inner work and you are really looking at what parts of you are in a low vibration, what parts of you are sitting in, you know, sadness, rejection, shame, judgment. And you're really starting automatically as the weeks go on and the months go on, you're going to feel and you're going to be able to sit into these uncomfortable conversations, uncomfortable scenarios, and say, okay, I'm uncomfortable right now, but I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm going to take a little bit of time here but I'm okay here. That has everything to do with you. You may get to a point in your relationships once you start setting these boundaries for yourself, because sometimes we do things and we be things that we don't want to be and do based on what somebody else's expectation is. So the minute that person asks or demands something to be done or you to be or do a certain thing or be a certain way, and you start doing this work and you start setting these boundaries up for yourself and you start saying, well, actually, you know what, tonight I didn't plan on going anywhere and I planned on doing some self-care, or I'm in a meeting or whatever that looks like. You're not dropping the meeting, you're not dropping self-care in order to meet somebody else's expectations. And if they get really angry with you setting boundaries and you're seeing some resentment towards yourself, and if they can even get to the point of verbally abusing you or God forbid physically, but there's some once you start doing this type of work and you start loving yourself to the point where you're actually saying absolutely not, you're not allowed to talk to me like that, that's unacceptable, there's going to be some rattling on the other end there. There's going to be. That's why when I kind of took you through this scenario, you're not you're not springing it on them that you're doing some self-work. You've actually had a conversation with them. And as the patients go on, as the time goes on, if you're noticing once you do start setting boundaries, letting the kids do shit on their own without you doing it for them, being able to say, hey, please, if you want this and that, go ahead and do this. This will help you get that. Mom's not doing it right now. Mom actually planned on doing this. And even the kids are like, what? when they backlash and when they're verbally abusive, there is a strong stance to say absolutely unacceptable, completely unacceptable. And you're gonna your energy alone and your facial expressions alone. I know I feel like I may have this because when I do, and I do, my kids challenge me, even though I practice all this. My kids are young; they're 3 under the age of 8, and so when I am teaching them how to, showing them how to treat me, teaching them how to treat me, they challenge me and they're very independent and sovereign. So like they're leveling up themselves, but it's tough. But I do have, because I've been practicing this for so long, is I've got so much self-love for myself, in those moments, that I'm able to really have no fear of how my kids are gonna think of me, if they're gonna be mad at me or what. It's actually absolutely, we are no it's a non-negotiable. We're not talking about this is unsafe or this is inappropriate. This is my "Oh, you're being mean, mom." It's like, well, and I can appreciate you feeling like that, but it's a non-negotiable. And because of my assertive and loving, and I give explanations and stuff, they kind of flow out of it quite easily. So we don't stay in that. We flow out of the energetic, the anger. I want candy for breakfast. All right. I'm big on sugar. I don't like much eating too much sugar all week. I'm not like, I believe that the kids want to have some treats and stuff, but I'm a big believer that sugar is literally, it's just not good for us. So that's important. They're important to me. So I I'm I can be pretty strict on that, especially on school days. But anyways, you get to a place, I digress, which I do. You get to a place where you are really looking at yourself and saying like, "Wow, I've got this." And your partner or your family member is really just still in the vibration of, um, not being well, not wellness. I know the work that I do because I'm an addiction specialist. Addiction is a big part of this. Is when we are using substances that literally change our brain, you may be leveling up here, and really learning to love yourself and putting yourself before everybody else. That codependency, not attaching to wanting people to accept you, and worrying about what they think of you. Once you're able to really play in this field of sovereignty and freedom, you're going to be able to notice, and with love, it's not judgment, it's actually compassion and curiosity. You're able to look at your loved one and say, I can't. Can get to a place and say, we're not aligned anymore. And it's neutrality. Of course, you're going to feel there's going to be some nervousness because that ego does come in once you have, but it's not the driver, it's not the operator, it's present. So there is a little bit of anxiety, but you get to a point after the awareness, after this action phase and care and doing everything you can within these relationships, within yourself first, but within these relationships. But you get to a place where you have been patient and that you are in repair, which is the fourth pillar. But you are in repair, but you're seeing after time has gone on that your job or your partner, um, and if it's your kids, yes, we have to keep a safe environment. If especially if they're young, no, we can't cut them off. We can't. We got to take care of them. But there's very strong boundaries, and kids are a little bit different because we're able to set these boundaries with the kids, and there is an expectation of this is how the household runs. This is how you speak to me, and this is how I speak to you. It's not one way, so you respect them as well. Don't expect respect without you giving some respect as well. That's why they're part of the conversation in that care phase. What's your observations and what is important to you? Okay. It's two-way. But you may get to a point, especially in your parenting, like, let's say your parents, your child, your kid that's an adult kid. Let's say you're a parent and your adult child is really just abusive and inappropriate. You may get to a place, which you will, especially this is what I'm seeing these days, is you get to a place where you are no longer in flow of putting up with their shit anymore. You will get to a place where you're no longer in flow of staying in a job that's literally making you sick. And you conclude the relationship, and you conclude it with assertive that this is unacceptable. I'm no longer you may want to take a break. That could be a phase as well as I need a break. I need 30 days here. I need 60 days. You get to decide. But I need 30 days here because I'm really recognizing that when I am with you, especially if it's a parent, an adult, let's say you're an adult and your family member, you can't really take 30 days, I guess, off your partner. Maybe you can. I don't know. Go to go on a Mediterranean cruise or something. But there may be a phase because you don't want to take the leap of concluding it. But again, sit with that awareness. Sit with the awareness of, wow, this relationship. I'm not happy in it anymore. So either you take the 30-day pause, and I'm just going to say 30 days. I just need 30 days, no connection, no contact. If you can, what you just said to me, again, it's a pattern of abuse. And I don't want you calling me, and I'm not going to connect with you for 30 days. I really just want to sit with myself here. And then I'll meet you in the 30 days. And then if you jump back on board in 30 days and you're still feeling, not not thinking so much, feeling that this is not in alignment, you're able to end it with love. You're able to give them love because inevitably, there will be a time, either in this lifetime or the next one, that their consciousness is going to come online and say, how can I show up in my relationships different? How can I show up in this world where I can maybe find some peace? But that's not your responsibility to change. And for you to attach yourself into these relationships because you're scared of something, you're going to continue to stay in this vibration of being unhappy, not being well. And that is physically as well because it gets stuck within. All right. So that's a big one. People literally concluding the relationship. And I've even seen some really interesting concluding relationships that both agree, and they have these beautiful, even ceremony like to say, this is what I gained from this relationship. We were together for 10 years. We were able to really evolve and talk. We learned so many lessons throughout these 10 years. And now I want to really ensure that there's no attachments, that I have nothing left to forgive, or you have nothing left to forgive or kind of work through. I've seen that as well. Can you imagine ending a relationship like that and not being attached and holding on to the cord, even though the relationship is concluded, because chances are you just discontinued it and you don't want to follow it back up. Like you've blocked everybody out of your life per se, because it's scary. It's scary to look at this stuff. It really is. It's very uncomfortable. But if you can get to a place in these relationships that you're able to say, thank you, soul, for being with me here, but we just want different things at this point, and I'm sending you off with so much love. Can you imagine what the world would look like? Can you imagine the conversations that if you had kids, and sending so much love to their parent to show the kid that yes, we are separating, but we're separating with that it's time that we now have different interests. Our soul wants different things and different lessons. And when we get stuck in these relationships, we get sick and we hold anger for years. We hold judgment for years. And that's what's coming up within the next 10, 20, 30, 100, these generations that are coming up, this is how they're going to start doing it because they're taking care of themselves first. So I'm part of the initiates. I'm part of the souls that are coming in to kind of like shake you up during these lives and through Turn Leaf movement to say, hey man, like this is where we're going. And what you focus on, you create. The world is going to look really, really beautiful. I know it's unstable right now and there's a lot of shifts going on, but this needs to happen in order for somebody to say, oh, what's going on? It's kind of like a wake up, and I'm not a big fan of the whole awake move. Like I don't care about the movements. I don't care about me. I care about is how I'm feeling here and what you're feeling here and how you're showing up in your relationships and how you're showing up in your life without interfering with somebody else's life, with somebody else's soul contract. I don't like that when we're imposing um, beliefs, things that could really set the trajectory for illness in their adult life or what have you, mental, physical. But what I'm anchoring here on beautiful Mother Gaia here is this is the place to be. You've signed up for this. And if you've stuck around with me and you follow me, and I do get a lot of private messages, I encourage, by the way, start putting these messages in the thread. Some of the messages I get are beautiful. They're so beautiful. Let's and if you're scared because you don't want anybody seeing it, check yourself with that. Check yourself with that. Because if you're hiding in your healing, that says something. Okay. I'm going to leave that here. Okay. We're a little over an hour here. And I'm sending so much love and so much light to you. And start having these conversations. This isn't, it's not going to get easier. It's not going to go away. Okay. It's here for you. And you've got a purpose in this lifetime, especially if you've been following these type of conversations, whether it be through me or somebody else. If you've been hearing this language, it's because you've got a purpose here. Nothing's by accident. All right. Sending so much love, so much light. Bye for now.